You are listening to the Why Smart Women podcast, the podcast that helps smart women work out why we repeatedly make the wrong decisions and how to make better ones. From relationships, career choices, finances, to faux fur jackets and kale smoothies. Every moment of every day, we're making decisions. Let's make them good ones. I'm your host, Annie McCubbin, and as a woman of a certain age, I've made my own share of really bad decisions. Not my husband. I don't mean him, though. I did go through some shockers to find him. And I wish this podcast had been around to save me from myself. This podcast will give you insights into the working of your own brain, which will blow your mind. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I'm recording and you are listening on this day. Always was, always will be, Aboriginal land. Well, hello, smart women, and welcome back to the Why Smart Women podcast. Today is the 15th of December, and I am podcasting from Sydney, New South Wales, and it is a very sad day here because of what happened in Bondi last night. I'm here with my good friend Alison, who was with me last night when we heard the devastating news of what was happening in Bondi. And for those of you that listen to the podcast that are not from Australia, and there's a lot of you now that listen to this podcast from all over the world, and it's important for you to know that here in Australia, mass shootings are very rare. And how long has it been, Alison, since the last one?
So the biggest mass shooting was back in 1996, and that was at Port Arthur, and that's something that in Australia we kind of think of, oh, that was the big thing. And there were more people killed there. I think, I don't know, it's in the 30, I think. So since then, it's not that we haven't had terrible incidents, but we haven't had that kind of large attack. And now, for the people overseas, it's interesting for us. I think we look at, everyone knows, but they don't necessarily know. It's a huge thing for us that, last night, 2 gunmen killed 15 people.
And injured 36, I think.
Yes, at this stage, that's what we know. So it's a rare thing.
And
it's resounding.
It is, and we are all, we're all just shell-shocked. And it's so strange how these things enter your consciousness and how they enter your consciousness, because we were sitting at an event last night at my apartment, which Alison was at, and we were having a nice sort of dinner and we were having laughs, and then my son looked up and said, there's been a shooting in Bondi. And that's when your brain starts trying to make sense of something which is so out of the ordinary, right?
And you start, I think when we were looking initially at it's trying to look at the different sources. So Bondi, and then there's been this many people shot, or there's been this many killed. And I think at that stage we were sort of talking about, we just don't know what and which source do we look at, and trying to step back from it a little bit, because you don't know.
You don't know. And
what because a couple of weeks ago there was an attack in America where it was like this many people killed, and they said it straight away, and then it turned out no, they hadn't been. So for me it was that, maybe it's not.
Right.
Maybe it's the rush of what's happening that will say it's worse than it is. Unfortunately, we woke this morning to it's worse than we were initially hearing, which is so sad.
Yeah, so we woke this morning to the devastating news that there had been a attack on members of the Eastern Suburbs Jewish community who were celebrating Hanukkah. And 15 people shot indiscriminately, including a 10-year-old girl. So I guess it's from this point onward that the damage to the further damage to the, I'll start that again, Harrison. I guess that has happened and that is devastating. But what happens next is what we need to try and ameliorate, which is the misinformation and the disinformation that is about to come at us at the rate of knots. Of course, it can absolutely further tear the fabric of society. So what do we do about that, Alison? How do we counter this? Because everybody wants an answer, right? And that's what you were saying last night, wasn't it?
Yeah, and this morning in the press conference, they're saying, well, what happened here and what happened? And the police were saying, well, that's part of our investigation. They don't know. They're not going to give the details. And we want the answers so that we know what to do next. And I think that with the answers aren't immediate. So being able to, we want to be able to control it and we can't. We need to allow, I think, the police, the others, the investigations, the things that happen, and the fact that they're not telling us all the answers straight away is not about cover up or things that, we don't know that, but it's allowing them to do their work, because that whole thing of snap judgment, immediate reacting, that's where we're not exercising critical thinking.
No, we're not exercising it at all.
Putting that pressure on people to give us immediate answers, I think, is unfair. We want the immediate answers so we then know what to do. There's a sitting at the moment in the discomfort of not knowing what to do exactly, but trying to find, the ways to be kind.
Well,
some people are giving blood.
Yeah, that's right. And we're looking, there's two things going on. There's the people are just going, what can I do? How can I help? There's lines and lines of people donating blood, as you just said. And the rest of us are just sort of floundering around going, how can I impact this? How can I help? What can I do? And of course, it plugs into that deep sense of powerlessness that we're experiencing. And also we have absolutely no agency in this. And people hate that. We want answers.
Yes.
We want a clear line of blame, right? And we want to regain control, because this has given us, I know I was sitting there last night and both my children are here, and I had that terrible sensation almost of free fall, which is none of us are safe anymore. But of course, it's an illusion, because none of us are safe anyway. Anything can happen to anybody at any time. But I think we sort of do live in this illusion, don't we? Although when I'm saying that, there are places in the world that are in a permanent state of this, for instance, like Gaza, like Ukraine, that must wake every morning to this.
Sudan. Yeah, so many places that have constant fear and uncertainty. And we in Australia have lived or tend to live with a sort of a relative, but relatively blasé about it. We are safe. And there's a realisation that terrorism can happen here as well. But as you say, lots of other things can happen here.
Lots of other things as well, that's right.
And in the midst of what two people have done that it is terrible, there are so many instances of people doing heroic, kind, just caring things as well. So you can live in the fear of the random acts of violence, but hopefully it's countered living in the random acts of kindness.
Yeah, well,
the
that's
random
right.
acts of bravery.
Yes.
And there were more people doing that.
Way, way, way more. And I always come back to that society would not function if fundamentally we weren't kind, compassionate and caring. It just wouldn't function. If we were all murderous and violent and anarchic, then society would not function. So we know that. But all it takes, because we know that all we know about the shooters, it was a father and a son. And that's all we know. And already I'm looking at the internet, which is just exploding with theories which are incorrect, insulting, and divisive. So the number one is that these guys were Muslims and we should just get rid of all the Muslims, which is just, the fact that half, the brilliant, I don't know what his religion was, but the guy that disarmed the shooter, one of the shooters, name was Ahmed. So, it is just the most ridiculous thing to paint an entire portion of the population with the same brush. But people's brains want to do it because they think it gives them an answer. If it's them and us. It's the in-group and the out-group. And if we can blame the out-group and somehow excise them from our society, then we'll be safe. And it's like, well, why didn't the government know? Well, can you imagine trying to track every single person that has, that a red flag has popped up for? It's just too easy, I think, to play the blame game, and it's way too early.
There's a lot of it's the othering of so many people, and as soon as you other them, then if they've got a particular name, then that means they are this.
100%.
But we don't know anything. So we know the name of one person.
Yep.
There was a father and son. So do we just say that father and son relationships are difficult? We don't
know. That's right.
We don't know. We don't know. We don't know that.
We don't know.
We won't know for a long time.
And yet we're desperate to know.
Yeah. Because then we know maybe what to do. Well, I don't know that we even know then, but it
just gives us a sense of control,
something to hold on to.
And we know it was anti-Semitic. We know that.
Do we? I would say,
no,
no. And so we know that it was at an event,
at a Hanukkah event,
Hanukkah event. So and they're talking about that, but we don't know what. We don't know their motivations as such at this stage.
No, good point. No.
It's at an event that's affected the Jewish people. And, look, it's highly likely that there was something there, but we actually don't know anything yet that's been reported to us.
No.
They've said it's an act of terrorism, so they've got criteria.
Yeah.
So that might of itself say something, and they've said anti-Semitism is, likely. But the motivations of the particular people, I do wonder: where does it happen? Where has it happened? Is it what? Is there a trigger? Oh yeah,
And the thing is that whatever has occurred, the influences on that moment are complex. And it is the very nature of complexity, I think, that people's brains do not want to entertain. They want a simple answer. And everything is complex. Yes, we know that the Hamas attack of October the 7th, that started, this sort of incendiary experience of anti-Semitism all over the world, but the whole notion of the persecution of Jews goes back. We also know that the Palestinians also. I mean, it's just complicated, and I don't actually want to get into the whole Gaza experience, but the world is now incredibly interconnected. We're here in Australia, but unfortunately what happens in other parts of the world does affect us. And can we stop that?
Can I share a story with you?
Please do.
I don't know whether this is helpful or not. I went to a celebration of Advent, which is the Christian sort of lead up to Christmas.
Is that the calendar?
The calendar. So the Advent calendar, yes. So it goes up to Christmas and 12 days after.
Right.
It's the beginning of the church year, and I went to a a dinner celebration of Palestinian Christians,
Right.
celebrating the beginning of Advent. But it was also talking about what is Palestine, and they invited their Muslim brothers and sisters along, and it was a real celebration with Palestinian people, Christian Australians. There was the lady who is the Jews for Palestine and a major leader there. So it was a whole community event. But one of the things was they had a singer who sang and got us all to sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Oh, it made me cry.
And it was funny. We were singing along Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And it's like, but then there was this realization for me that hope, that there are people who, you know, the little children, somewhere bluebirds fly.
Yeah.
Because in them, where they're not safe.
Yeah.
And that's what we all feel. Even in Australia, there's people now who are thinking, where's that side over the rainbow? But that's the communal thing, that humanity is looking for, that somewhere in the future over the rainbow, bluebirds sing. Birds fly over the rainbow.
Yeah.
Why then, oh, why can't I? And it was very interesting because there were people singing along halfway through. I was just in tears.
Of course.
And my poor husband was like, oh, not you again. But that's you know, do we discover in this not the answers, but the fact that we all have that humanity that's longing somewhere for this greater peace? And if we can actually just acknowledge that longing in Palestinians, in Jewish people, in Muslims, because that's what we want, and we want it for our children.
We do.
And we want it
We do.
over there. So, and the answer is not in then saying we're going to build a wall or we're going to kick everybody out.
It's amazing because regular listeners would be aware that I follow the Cook community in Sydney, in Australia, and who have made a seamless transition from being anti-vax into being anti-immigration.
Mm.
Hey, you've got to hate something, right? You've got to have some irrational thing going on in your brain. So that's where they are now.
Mm.
And they organise these awful marches, and it's just disgraceful. And so they're, of course, online this morning, and they're so quick.
Mm.
It's so quick.
That's it.
Not only, okay, first thing we've got to do is just all Muslims have to just leave the country immediately. Such an easy thing to organise. And also one of them was like, and all the Jews as well. It's like, just get rid of everybody. I don't know who they think is going to live here.
All the others. Give all the others.
Yeah, it's all the others.
Yeah.
I've just finished Melanie Tracett King, who is a professor of biology but runs a very successful online, she's got a page called Thinking is Power. And she's just written a book, which I've just pre-read it and had a peg through it before it goes to the publisher. And she's so good. And she was talking about the fact that in everybody's head there is an elephant and there is a rider. It's such a great analogy.
Mm.
Of course, we're so invested in our emotional imperatives. We're so invested in every feeling that I have, every emotion that I have, every impulse that I have must be respected and must be acted on. And of course, so many of these, as soon as I have a very strong feeling about anything, I always sit back and I go, what is driving that? Because if I don't sit back and go, what is driving that, then I'm likely to take action on it. And the behavior will either be positive or the behavior could be destructive in myself. I'm talking about small decisions. And of course, the emotional drivers, the elephant in the heads of people that commit these sort of atrocities, can you imagine how out of control those elephants are? Now, they are an anomaly in our society, but these people that use these opportunities to sow discontent, to sow division, and to grift off society what an absolute disgrace, because I think their elephants are also just opportunistic elephants going, here's an opportunity for me to say something that's going to get people fired up. And then we find the person to blame, and then people feel that they can take action, but it's crap because we can't. There's no action that we can take that is born of hate that is going to fix any of these problems. We can hold boundaries. We can be clear. We can say legally, right? Legally, this is what you can do and what you can't do. We can respect the policing of our country. But, at the end of the day, all we can do is really, really try to get our elephants under control, try and really get into the righter part of our brain and go, hang on, just because that person dresses like that, and just because they're from the same area from the person that has committed an atrocity, am I going to hate them as well? So, yeah. I don't know what else we can do, Alison.
Yeah, I don't. It's interesting because we even go and pour into, I've got to read more, I've got to know more about what's happened, and we will, but that's going to be over time. What do we do today? We
I don't know, yeah.
Well, there are the lines for blood, but we value each other. I go back to, what do we have control of? The kindness that we can give to the people around us, and not engaging in we engage in speculation. It's that interesting thing of trying not to keep speculating, but pouring our energies into the positive things at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. The speculation, I think the endless speculation, I've had to, I made a decision right at the start of it. I wasn't going to look at it on television.
Oh.
I've looked at it online and I've spoken to my friends. But I'm not going to look at it on television because I don't find it helpful for my mental state, because it just makes me really anxious, and I get stuck in a loop of, I just can't believe it's happening. Why did that happen, and what can I do about it? And I come out nowhere. So to your point, all we can do is allow the process to unfold, send love out to the people that have innocent people going, that's what it's so upsetting, innocent people at the beach. Is there a more iconic beach that represents the joy and freedom of being Australian than Bondi Beach, of all the places?
Yeah. It is true. It's kind of, that's our place of frolic and freedom and almost carefreeness. It's the carefree place,
right? People come on holidays and it's like straight to Bondi, and
it's not. It's far from carefree now.
And how long will it take for that scar to heal?
But it's interesting too. I don't think, I think people could say that if you do, just concentrate on what you can do and be kind, and trust the process, then you're just bowing out of it. It doesn't mean there's not even accountability in terms of, okay, government, we're going to give you time to go and investigate. And there's accountability down the track.
Yeah.
There's space and holding accountable for doing a good investigation, holding the police, necessary when they 100%. Review this, that they report that there's transparency, that we actually learn and understand what has happened. But that comes by giving time, by allowing the police, allowing the government not to just do a knee-jerk reaction.
Exactly.
It's not the knee-jerk.
To appease people's...
Yeah.
Yeah, because everyone... It's the same principle which I go over and over and over again, that the reason that we will sometimes turn our back on Western medicine and go towards alternate medicine is because we want certainty. And Western medicine offers us, I'm going to run a test, I'm not sure, I think it's this, but I could be wrong. And over here you'll have a naturopath going, it's definitely this, I can fix it, right? And the human brain, we love certainty. We really, really don't like living in an uncertain place. And is there any place more uncertain for us today than Sydney, New South Wales, Australia? Because our perception of where we live has been blown into a million pieces, right? And so we can't have certainty. What we can have is connection, kindness to the people that are near us, right? And then I don't know what else we can do. I don't know, except live with the fact that this is really painful for all of us, and grieve with those who were going about their evening on a beautiful Sydney night and have lost their lives. Yeah, terrible. Anything else to say, Alison?
I don't think so.
It's very nice of you to join me today. I really, really appreciate it. I did think to myself, listeners, if I should tackle it, and I had a long discussion with Alison and with David and actually with Harrison about whether I should. But I'd like to think that this podcast does not add into the speculation, but is part of the fight against the tsunami of disinformation and misinformation that fires up the elephants in people's brains. Because at a time like this, what we need more than anything is rationality, and not jumping to conclusions, and not giving in to that absolutely desperate urge to find the blame. Because yes, 2 people had their hands on those triggers, but the backstory, the social fabric, the cultural influences that got us to this point, that is complex, and that cannot be solved in a single meme. So on that note, thank you very much. I'm sorry to be the bearer of such terrible news. And our love, you say.
Yeah,
love to them.
Our love to the people who are in this, to the people who've lost family, the people who don't know, the responders. There's so many people whose life today is different. All of us are affected in some way, but some people will have scars. So, yeah, our love, our thoughts.
Yep.
There'll be people who it's their prayers, and that's good too.
Yep, great.
And it's about, that sitting and our prayers, even in our acts of kindness.
Yeah.
Our prayers in action.
Thank you, Alison. And to all you listeners, stay safe, stay well, keep your critical thinking hats on. Talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks for tuning into Why Smart Women with me, Annie McCubbin. I hope today's episode has ignited your curiosity and left you feeling inspired by my anti-motivational style. Join me next time as we continue to unravel the fascinating layers of our brains and develop ways to sort out the fact from the fiction and the over 6,000 thoughts we have in the course of every day. Remember, intelligence isn't enough. You can be as smart as paint, but it's not just about what you know, it's about how you think. And in all this talk of whether or not you can trust your gut, if you ever feel unsafe, whether it's in the street, at work, in a car park, in a bar, or in your own home, please respect that gut feeling. Staying safe needs to be our primary objective. We can build better lives, but we have to stay safe to do that. And don't forget to subscribe, rate and review the podcast and share it with your fellow smart women and allies. Together, we're hopefully reshaping the narrative around women and making better decisions. So until next time, stay sharp, stay savvy, and keep your critical thinking hat shiny. This is Annie McCubbin signing off from Why Smart Women. See you later. This episode was produced by Harrison Hess. It was executive produced and written by me, Annie McCubbin.